Hello. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So maybe just a few words about myself. Like mentioned, Sebastian, Togelang. We've been supporting entrepreneurs in Asia for the last, especially Southeast Asia, for the last 6 years. And for those that not familiar with the ecosystem in Southeast Asia, I just want to clarify, this is not the representation of the gender ratio in Southeast Asia. Otherwise, I would go more often to the office. So we have here 3 powerful women. And yeah, why don't we start with each of you just give us a sentence, what you're doing, and then maybe tell us why you think it's the right time or not right time to be in Southeast Asia right now as an entrepreneur.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marita. I am Chief Marketing Officer at Zilingo. We are a tech company that is building software and services across the fashion supply chain. And our mission and our purpose is to use technology to level the playing field in fashion and create an industry that is more fair, more transparent, and more sustainable. Hopefully, we'll leave the industry in a better place than we found it. So what we do is essentially build software that helps businesses that operate in fashion do business faster, better, more efficiently. And I'm very excited to speak about Southeast Asia. I think Roshni has done a really good job of kind of painting the picture, the landscape of what our region looks like. We started business actually in Thailand, and we were inspired by the immense possibility of doing business in this region, in a place that is not just densely populated, but also catching up to the mobile revolution, the mobile era. 4.5+ years of doing business. Today, when I think about operating a business out of Southeast Asia and why it seems like something that was a boon to us, a blessing in disguise almost, is that the region forces you to build a business that is cross-border, that serves an audience that is very diverse, speaks many different languages, has different currencies. It forces you to localize. And it has actually helped us a lot to then poise ourselves for a global platform because you're using the same fundamentals, the same ways of doing business when you then expand to multiple countries. So I think that has been one of the greatest benefits and learnings that we've had doing business out of the region and poised us for global growth. We started just 2 markets in Southeast Asia. Now we operate 17 countries globally. So it's been I think a big learning experience to start from this region.
Hi, my name is Shannon. I'm a partner at Gobi Partners. So maybe a little bit about Gobi first. Gobi, we have 13 funds, started from China 18 years ago. We manage about $1 billion under management. And we focus on investing in tech investments. So we have everything from seed all the way to unicorns and IPOs already. What excites us about the region is like you guys already heard it from them, but we're very bullish about the rising middle class. So maybe a couple fun facts, right? There's a lot of underserved markets in Southeast Asia. So the US and Europe started from web-based internet. Whereas in Southeast Asia, we followed China, so all of a sudden, everybody who has 1.5 number of phones, that's the average user has 1.5 number of phones, we went on the internet by phone. So all of a sudden, we had this skyrocket, like burgeoning middle class who had all this access to things, to products and services that they never did before. So I mean, we started a lot of the trends very similar to China. So we started from the media, the ecosystem, started from e-commerce enablers. We tackled normal problems such as logistics, payments, data, et cetera, et cetera. But now what we're also seeing and what we're very excited about is we're doing a lot of underserved markets in terms of, I guess you call it social impact, but social innovation. Please don't mean that social impact means low returns. It basically means there's a big problem out there and all 6 countries actually share the same problems. So another fun fact, like in Thailand, the inequality gap 1% of all of Thailand owns 67% of the economy. So this is very, very normal in Indonesia, in Malaysia, and whatever. So what does that mean? So there's a lot of room or gap for the financial access, financial inclusion, health tech, meditech. We have environmental issues. So a lot of these things are just really exciting for us because for the first time, people are starting to have access to all of this stuff. So there's lots of room for opportunities. The different countries have their different characteristics. We'll probably get into that later. And so we're very bullish about the whole entire ecosystem.
Hi, I'm Juliet. I'm the CFO of Carsome Group. I'm a VC recently turned operator. Carsome is the largest used car trading platform in Southeast Asia. We're based in Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Singapore. At the moment, we are serving 6,000 dealers, and we've served more than 1 million customers. So our cause, to answer Rashni's earlier question, is to build a protocol based on quality assurance and trust to an industry that's so opaque before. And that's our purpose and what we're trying to build. And I think it's one of the best time to build a company or to invest in Southeast Asia for 3 reasons. I think number one, there's just so much to do. Even for the super unicorns, Grab, Gojek, they're still serving only a fraction of the market. And whatever you want to do, there's a big enough space for you to do. And number two, you just completed the first cycle of venture investing and startup ecosystem in Southeast Asia. So you have a pool of battle-tested founders, investors, as well as builders, we never had before. And number three, I think whatever you do in Southeast Asia, you'll have a social impact. So it's so much easier relatively to find a cause and purpose that has life and death impact to people's lives and economy, of course.
Marita, I'll start with you. You're in Zilingo in marketing, and we're seeing in this last 5 years so many great fashion companies, e-commerce established in Southeast Asia, very sizable. So what is your strategy to differentiate Zilingo and how to grow in this getting more competitive market?
So for a little bit more context, we started 4.5 years ago as a B2C marketplace, and at the time that was really the foot in the door for us to enter the Southeast Asian market. Today, we operate as a supply chain tech company, and a big reason why we started doing this is that as a B2C marketplace, we spent a lot of time working with SME businesses, fashion businesses that were operating in the region. And we saw that these businesses had way, way, way more problems than just selling direct to consumer. In fact, that was one of the easiest things to do. But there were many other infrastructural problems that existed in the market. Today, and many of you must have read this already, but 97% of retail profit in the fashion industry is held by just the top 20 companies in the world. So everything else is distributed across hundreds and hundreds, thousands of small direct-to-consumer brands. And on the flip side, a large part of global fashion is continuing to be manufactured out of Asia and starting to diversify outside of China. And yet, manufacturers and factories outside of China don't necessarily have the infrastructure or the scale or the software that helps them address this massive demand. So that was what motivated us to kind of go much more upstream and build software solutions for businesses operating in fashion. So we build software for 3 types of businesses. One is factories. Factories still today operate entirely almost with paper and fax and one-to-one conversations and WhatsApp. And we wanted to build really, really easy to use software that they could basically use to digitize their operations. So something super simple like quality checking, moving from a chalkboard to a tablet could completely transform the view that a factory owner has of his factory floor and save days, save a lot of manpower and energy. So that's one type of product suite that we build. The second is software that faces the retailer and connects the retailer to the factory. So all of the data collected at the factory floor can also be shown to the retailer so that it doesn't become a black box after you make an order. And finally, the software that enables trade. And this is where the traditional e-commerce logistics frameworks and payment frameworks come into play, and in a way to make trade more efficient. So we feel like as a platform, we're enabling more competition in that sense, trying to break monopolies that exist in the industry traditionally. We used to see, fashion brands as our competition in our early days, but today we see ourselves much more as an enabler, not just an enabler of fashion companies, but also an enabler of banks that want to lend to these companies, of advertising agencies that want to service these companies. So much more of a platform that's kind of bringing different partners together in the ecosystem, which I think positions ourselves a little away from the competition, and in fact enables us to, have more businesses participate in the marketplace.
All right. And you're now how many countries and how many employees?
So we operate out of 17 countries globally, including the US and Europe. We serve 60,000 merchants globally, and 7,000 of them are factories that are operating out of Asia, non-China largely, South Asia and Southeast Asia. And our global manufacturing network, the people that are on the platform, process about 65 million units of clothing and apparel and accessories every month. So that's broadly the scale at which we do business.
So all that happens in 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the 996 is true.
So just coming back a little bit what Rosny said before, I believe that, yes, right now, the companies in Southeast Asia will take more than 10 years to IPO, but I believe that's also because the wave of internet just happened like 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
I mean, Gojek is 10 years, 11 years, but really the growth just happened in 2014.
Absolutely.
And I think once those unicorns go into the wave of listing what's already happened with C Group, I think that's the game changer. What's changed the complete Southeast Asia happened more closely to China. That's just my opinion, but maybe Shannon can say something about that, as well as maybe you explain us a little bit. You've been very active in supporting women entrepreneurs. I mean, I think you even launched a $50 million fund just dedicated for women. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and how's the success, and what the success stories, or even maybe things you learned from there?
So before I joined the dark side of being a VC, I was a woman founder with these lovely ladies here. And kind of to the point earlier, of all the women founders that are strong in Southeast Asia, this is it. Like this is it.
You're looking at them.
Like you're looking at them. There's not many. So the whole women entrepreneurship in Southeast Asia, it's what's the word for it? I mean, it was very little amount of women that was starting it, especially 10 years ago, right? And of the ones that succeeded and that are still around today, there's a bit more that's coming out there. I guess the main thing is we're seeing a lot more of women entrepreneurship. There's been one good positive side is the fact that we're all helping each other. Finally. I mean, there was a big problem. I don't know if you read a lot about women entrepreneurship and whatnot, but women actually don't support women. And one great thing that came out from this whole entire new empowerment community is that we are starting to support women, which is great. So that's one good thing. The issue is sometimes, I like facts, right? So another fun fact is in Thailand, we have the #1 highest number of C-suite that are women in the world. And that's actually a false number because in Thailand, we have a large number of family offices, family conglomerates. Again, 1% own 67% of the economy. And so what happens is the CEO is usually the man because it's the son. And then the woman controls the money, and so she's the CFO. So she's actually part of the C-suite, but she actually doesn't have any power because we do all our negotiations at the hostess bars, right? So, or the golf clubs or whatever. This is Thailand. So this is Asia, FYI. And it's the truth. So there is a large gap in gender equality and stuff, but there are many things that are being done to solve it to date. So one of the reasons that Sebastian said was, so we joined a campaign called the $1 billion Initiative. And it started out of a group of women in Washington, D.C. to basically raise the number of investments, dollar amounts to women founders, because then it trickles down to everything, right? The pay gap, all the other inequality issues that we deal with. And so we pledged $50 million. And again, one other fun fact, only 15% of total VC money goes to women. And so what we're trying to do is raise that number. And so as of last year, they've raised $1 billion. We committed 50 to that. So what it is it's a pledge. Luckily, Gobi's been doing it for 18 years. 30% of our portfolio are already women founders. And it's always been our thesis, like two main things. It's already a male-dominated ecosystem, tech. And of the ones that are women that are in it, they're strong, they are survivors, they're resilient, they will cut through, they will do whatever it takes. So that's one thing. The second thing is just investing in women alone or women products and services. Women are the chief purchasing power for at home, right? So we buy for our husbands, we buy for our moms and dads, our children, for us and whatever. So on a big picture, like investing in women, and nobody was doing it because gender equality in Asia is like, so it's very a male-dominated Asian society in Southeast Asia. So we believe in this opportunity, and so far it's yielding great results. Last year alone, we just did some numbers. Of our women founders, and it's not he versus she, it's more of if the team, the founders have a woman on board versus all men on board. So triple revenue growth, and the retention rate is much higher, profitability is much higher, so we're quite happy with what we've been doing with that.
Yeah, just a fun fact, in my previous life as a VC, we have 150 companies invested across China, US, Southeast Asia, and India. And based on the limited sample size, female-run companies, women-run companies outperform men-run companies by 30% in terms of revenue growth. So just a tip for investors out there.
So, but now you escaped the dark side, right?
Because I want to grow. I escaped the dark side.
So
yeah.
you now being entrepreneurs, other way around. And so congrats, you just joined Carsome, great company. When we look at it, you didn't join, so we didn't invest, but maybe that can change in the future. What I want to ask is, I read that Carsome plan is to be profitable in the this year. So how are you going to do that, and how are you going to manage between, obviously some of the competitors raise a lot of money, maybe some of them tends to burn more money or likes to spend more. So how you can manage between growth and reaching profitability and facing the competition?
Thank you for the question. I think number one is either on the VC or on the entrepreneur side, I never really believed the amount of money raised should be used as a measure of success. And especially on the VC, if you think the strategy is to fund the most funded startup, weird things happen. The game gets broken. So I know there's pressure in the industry to follow some of the rules, but I think fundamentally it's not sustainable. So it never really, I think, affected us very much in the way we run the business. So and another interesting thing is the word profitability has been talked a lot recently. I think since a couple of months ago. And it's not a new thing for us. It's not a new thing for, I think, most of the companies here to actually, especially for Southeast Asian companies, because it used to be very, very hard to fundraise. So lots of companies bootstrap, lots of companies build company to be profitable from day one. So it's never really a new thing, and it's like, oh, we have to be profitable this year. It's always been the plan. And Carsome's been profitable. So we are a distributed team. We have multiple locations, and some of the countries are growth drivers, and some of the countries are more of a cash cow. So Malaysia, we are profitable on the operational level, and this year, Indonesia and Thailand should be break even. And so it will be a decision for us to invest more into either new countries or new product lines. But we believe in focusing on reaching profitability, improve sustainable business model step by step. So we focus on one thing, make it work, and then we invest a cash flow into a new thing. So that's always been I think the strategy of the company. As for competition, I think right now we don't see a lot of competition on the ground. Operationally, it's just competition in terms of fundraising. The market is huge. Yeah.
So, what do you think is right now, in 2020 or the next 2 years, going to be the hottest sectors that's growing in Southeast Asia? If you have any ideas, which could be the interesting areas to join?
For us, we're very bullish on fintech. I think all of you guys are doing like some sort of fintech as well, right? Everybody's just doing fintech right now. I think there's so many problems to be solved in fintech. So whether you're the B2B side, helping the SME factories on these side, or even yourselves, right? So you actually fund the dealers and all this other stuff as well. And then there's a lot of potential for B2C. So we have a lot of so in Asia, most of the times a normal person needs to put real estate collateral up to get a bank loan for SMEs, for your own personal loan, or personal loans, you get charged like 300%. Like it's ridiculous, right? But then on the B2C side, you have to have collateral. So there's a lot of this financial underserved needs that aren't being met to date. And for me, yeah, like fintech we also have crypto, although I'm not touching that. So we also have exchange licenses that just recently got legalized. But outside from that, I'm most excited about fintech.
Southeast Asia has been growing like crazy over the last 5 years. I mean, from our side, we started invested in 35 companies, but over this last 5 years, our company's hired more than 30,000 people, right? So, but obviously in this hyper-growing region, talent is one of the biggest challenge. So what is your strategy to overcome that and yeah?
I think for us, we've had a very interesting experience with talent. We grew super fast in a very short span of time. Two things that really helped us. One was investing and choosing local leadership. We have really strong leaders in each of the countries that we operate in that cultivate the team at the local level. They, to us, are CEOs of those companies. And that helps a lot with ownership. It helps with localization. And it also helps create a cluster of senior leaders for us as a leadership team. So that has been super important, finding the right people at the local level. And two is supplementing that local leadership with experienced senior leaders. We're pretty agnostic to where they come from. Much more important that they want to do, want to solve the problems that we want to solve. Much more important that they come into the company with a founder's mindset. So we typically operate when we have new people come in, and most founders that go through scaling would have seen this, that you have this kind of separation between the OG team, like the old guys, and the new incoming leaders. And one way we've tried to mitigate this is, of course, to coach our OG team to welcome new people very warmly and see them as sources of learning, but also to empower new people to take on founder-like projects within the company. So they have a sense of ownership and foundership inside the organization, and that has helped a lot. So we've recently hired a lot of key people inside our leadership team at a senior level, but to be honest, in a couple of months, they all feel like family.
Yeah, maybe I'll just add to that. I think there are immediate solutions and there are mid to long-term solutions. And for the immediate solutions, we're actively exploring offsite teams. So actually, for Southeast Asian teams, we are very natural at operating, especially founders, very natural at operating across borders with multiple teams, because each country will have a team on its own. So for us, it doesn't really occur to be like a big challenge to have, say, a tech team in Taiwan, or in R&D in Beijing, and another development team in India. It's just a natural part of the business, and you find the best type of talent for what you want to build. So that's the most immediate. And right now we also offer a lot of opportunities to young people. So we have a management training program, internship program. Basically, whoever that has the best attitude, we don't really care that much about experience. So train the right type of people we want that has a culture fit and the principle fit to the business, and they add a lot of value to the business and the pace. And then for I think the longer term, I think really grooming local leaders and empower the leaders, and so they can start to train people of their own.
So in think of the interest of the time, I think we need to stop, but in this short of time, I already feel, okay, this is a completely different discussion I have in Indonesia with all these guys, right, or dudes. So definitely we should support more women in Southeast Asia. I'm very happy that you guys started this movement, and I think there's more to come. I'm confident about that. And yeah, so big round of applause for these ladies here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.